Before I get done. Mogopaki, why you have one now? Share the video, everyone, and feel free to welcome our comrade Izoduwa. Ideya Gidigba. A video no kawu. Osire yegbe. So you to be here, they don't be a bad dana. What the hell for? Go.
Wow.
All right. Okay. Waya Mogopaki, West Wana. All right, everyone. Please, you will never carry your popcorn. Feel free to go carry your popcorn. We are about to. All right, everyone. Thank you for coming and make una free. Help us share this video. Invite everyone. So may they come sit down, may they carry their popcorn, may they sit down. The way they watch us from YouTube, make you free share them any direction we on the watch share. Wow, Josie Johnson, thank you for coming. So now you just in charge. Make you just hold that YouTube that side. All right, everyone, free to share this broadcast. Our one and only comrade, Izoduwa. We really appreciate it. Create time to deal with us today. So all the lies, when Sekiogoba, they pass, they go from one beer parlor to the another. Anything where they bother una for body, anything where they bother una, time go day when una go call in, when una go ask question. We dey with the man where be say they don't push Izoduwa, push am. Honor the way you have beladia. Honor ya kwe beladia. To what total you know ya ata. He give you facts and he give you evidence. Honor the way ya kwe beladia. Honor the way ya ata. A video no last. Aware awas yene abogyoba ya wamene. I mean your panu no ya makan, but in here made it distract him. So our comrade Izoduwa always say, "Oh, ena ya nugedwa itana wekate na ya ne no be." Aweta matamima mana ewu wekate na ya ne. But manibu domiania. But when you degbedo repeat, we really appreciate you. Always say, "Babe so we are the one of what no yarivie." No that way, you know you fit to wear anything. We are review. So please welcome our comrade Izoduwa. Make sure they welcome her for comment session. You will go welcome her with super chat. Free to do that. You will go welcome her with star. Welcome her. During this broadcast, we not say Izoduwa and one kind of person will be say area gift. Like when we hear a gift in here, why do estate in here? Why do we doctor? So you can still call in for this broadcast today. Say, Izoduwa auto yere state when here. La you only bo wa the estate we only bo wa kewe. So if you don't do that, you show one your pa or in my hameti une. Understand? Area gift, area phone, area anything. So I buy me wa adon yon no they all the little one ladian I already my hair here. We like motor na by the stroke. On your pa my hair my isowa my hair to be man no. So I did Joshua make another two take on that time. Make they welcome ma'am. At least I need like 50 comments. But I don't need to welcome Olakoko. Make una welcome comrade Izoduwa. Thank you very much. You are welcome. Make una I can't time. We don't go back in so we need to know how many people will deal with us. Okay? So I beg go ahead. Go ahead. You will go still say you are happy, do things when you're supposed to do. So we get up now so it be. So you one at the right time they put. We have 90 people watching 10 minutes broadcast. So make we know how many people were in the line with us. The right is Izoduwa, we're happy to see you. Thank you for coming. Only that comment alone. Ogionba group, Ogionba association, they give their sleepless night. If they give their sleepless night, you understand? They give their sleepless night. Izoduwa not be pushover for inside history. Izoduwa history. Izoduwa rema magba. You understand? Waiting rema magba. Area is a ba. Una know how many times I don't call her. A comrade do my phone. It may go. It correctly me where that father where Olakoko Izoduwa rena we show. Cause again you were busy where or boiladian. He may post any reward what day. May he post me na room. No I very ATA. Only ATA we are doctor. Yeah, we are doctor. So please welcome our comrade for comment section. Make una let this broadcast go viral. Take this broadcast to the next level. When I go see they say we're happy to see you. When they check the comment section, we'll shake. So I did Joshua and I hand over to our coordinator, Papakins. Papakins, Vera Father. Up to you, comrade. Thank you very much.
Let's go on, Olakoko, and I greet you for giving us your platform. As Lepa ask you, Prince Joseph Ogio, the aspect of our time in London. And I also use this opportunity to thank your fans also, and also those who know they follow you, cannot feel your Obama. And especially to our brother Mogo Park in one in Lawa. So you really plan. So we're not done where we are patronized and we're acting music in it. And one of the acting music do or the even so Izoduwa we can have a chance to yet or 30 or 40 minutes but so what they boring 10 minutes to yet music up na na ni open me so we acting we do so no why you want feel ikebe so in huitan in hu na we ya think we act by we go back we act by usayomore we go back we act by talent. Those are the people no carry music we agwe magwan. So it's not only musicians, historians like our Otimare, patriotic brother Izoduwa. Musicians are also there talking to us. So while we go back, while we argue some of our old films also, the things are there also. You will see the element there. So not all this new media film also. So while we go back, while we act back. So to move forward, while we say, Otime Imanswen. I welcome you. Go here. We are taking time to you. You are welcome. Odomo,
sir.
So I me a video where we even watching you live, and it was a good response. So that is why we tried, and we are very, very happy today to have you in our show today. And we are going to be discussing on some new facts that you touched on your video that you released 3 days ago, so if I'm not mistaken. There were some facts that was able to connect the dots. You know, you have been giving us, talking to us concerning the history, most particularly about this Vorame issue. You purposely, for peace to reign, jumped some issue when you use language where so we know. But I know that where this is not what you wanted. So Obaseki is the one that released the Wahala out. So you have no option other than to counter Obaseki with this historical fact. So once more again, you are welcome. First and foremost, we are going to be our today topic is going to be based on 3 issues. You have a free card, you know, to express and the way you want to answer it. But 3 basic issues. First, there's going to be questions that is going to come from the betrayal aspect. Then the second one, did Aho ever or Gaius, the Obaseki, ever once protect the kingdom, protect the throne? And at the same time also, did Aho also collaborated positively or negatively in collaboration with the Europeans for the benefit of Edo people? So these are the 3 areas I will be throwing my question for. First and foremost, I would like you to let us forget about how Aho came into power. Started his friendship, how he came to Benin when our Ovurame was still a prince. But let us fast forward. Let us go to right from 1897. What was our conduct? So my question is, was our conduct patriotic to the Edo people, or our was in collaboration before the invasion and after the invasion with the British? So you are free, sir.
Oh, all right. Wadomo, before I answer your question, I like to, first of all, for the purpose of those who will see the video, and I think in a video say,
Yes.
you know, sometimes people believe that we unnecessarily, why are the Benins fighting themselves? Well, ordinarily, like I said, before I did the video I had to do, I had said what I had established at that time was that ever since this Mowa Benin Royal Museum, swing, the entire issues, that's recently, no Kagbera. I only spoke about the entire matter once, just for the sake of speaking on the matter. Not that I really wanted to talk about it, because often at times I realized that it finds its way to douse itself off. I've always believed in that. So I've not really been interested in the machinations, devilish machinations of Godwin. I've not really been interested. Oh, I've not really been interested. But I started to pick interest the day he had accentuated, he had said that if not because of Ago, his great-grandfather, the Benin monarchy would have stopped existing. That is an attempt to revise Benin history. I bear the word Uworon because sometimes I've had to explain to people what Uworon means. The sole purpose of the Uworon were to protect the history of the land. I am in connivance with that incredible group that is now extinct. So I only react when our history is being revisited wrongly. If Godwin has not spoken about, if he had not lied about Benin history, I usually do not take it on based on things that he said. I know he hardly talk by nature. He hardly so, and anytime he's talking, that means he has set the ball in motion. When he's not talking, he's strategizing. The strongest Obaseki is the Obaseki who do not talk. He doesn't talk, he doesn't speak, he's just strategizing. So, but when he starts speaking, he just wants to set the ball in motion of what he has done already. So, but I often also realize that when he now talks, he talks way beyond where he was supposed to talk. The limit at which he was supposed to say some certain things, he now talks way beyond because he hardly talk. So that becomes his weakening point. So I have studied him for this long that from Emino Katawokao, what he inherently want to do with it, I can actually see what the game he's trying to play. Now, before I go to your question, I also something came to my mind this morning because and so I begin to imagine a lot of things. Now, the personality surrounding Godwin, it's a very unfortunate personality. For what I know about this man, for what I've been told, I can be fact-checked. Anybody who listens to me can decide to pay a visit to his family, to any of his I am not a guy, you know. So me no wa unyi me no wa gwe wa oduari ma wo. All right. It's just that the Benin's really didn't pay attention to how you grew up as a person. So if we had paid so much attention to how you grew up, we would have been better informed on his characteristic as a person. So I give an example. For what I was reliably told by some of his very close family members, Omanira yi Beyomori for 17 years. Onidie mawa or monoma. You understand?
Exactly.
Era Akbeyomori. This can be verified. So somewhat, I think about 17 years. Ayakbeyomori. Any person that this is not me saying persons can go and find that they are maybe the same. I think it's about 17 years or so, but I know it was a very long time. I think about 17 years, 7 or 17 years, but one of the figures. So Oman Iraq be your mori for that long. It doesn't seem like a good person because that is, there are some his behaviors. For example, I can easily ask, but anybody who can relate, who comes from his family, will tell you that his mother is living in a very derelict situation. For what I was told, let's put it allegedly. So, but what is his relationship with his mother? What was his relationship with his father before his father passed? It is so raw that I might not even want to say here. This is a person that we have done a terrific family background check on him. It was a big mistake that whoever allowed that kind of a person who had that devastating childhood ever allowed to get to power. So he's a narcissist grandeur. He's a sadist par excellence. He strives where there is problem. He cannot find himself. If the people are happy, if the people are united, it makes him sad. He's only happy when there are problems, when there are divisions. So he strives where there is a total obliteration of peace. That is the kind of a person he is. So every single thing that you see that he portrays or protrudes as a person is as a result of his background, how he grew up as a person. All right? I can go on our own. My guy now, Akabo, his uncle, not seeing me right, I think he's still alive, Chief Otutu, who was I think it's once a time Supreme Court judge, or I think one time Supreme Court judge and all of that. Had issue even when he was a governor, on our anniversary by Supreme Court today. As a sitting governor on at the anniversary in one of the church, I was heard that Uncle Yayo, because of a deal Niyahu when he was a Supreme Court judge. If he hears me, knows that we know some of these things. So he has had a very terrible experience, and that Uncle was the one who pleaded because on your simira, not be Godwin is Roland, the guys that you talked about, the Novi very Nave where Iran or Gaius, Nori Yase. Iran or not be Gaius or Ago. So or tie Ovie Gaius or not, I think it's called Chief Otutu. Ove Imira, which is Mr. Roland, not be Godwin. We no lao no do zese naya do simie, you know that sort of a thing. So honor betrayal ni. All right, there's still a quarrel till date. His family members could definitely will see some of this video and they can be able to cross-reference. Like I said, I can be fact-checked on this because he used the word we should fact-check. So I can be fact-checked on this if he's actually in good terms. I don't think there's any of his family members that agree with him that or no. Let's not talk about Abetion Niesimi Yawokba Abemani Dolita Yai Vulcanizer, one of his brother wearing one of his brother, I think Ovira Oviji or so, or just Ovira. Now we Vulcanizer or you would till this. That does not speak well of that kind of a person. So that kind of a person, you don't expect that if he doesn't have good intention to his own immediate family, he definitely would have good intention to Benin Kingdom as a whole. So Ete is intentionally is who he is as a person. So I just wanted to define the kind of a person we are dealing with. For example, Godwin cannot give you 100 naira. No women we say no yari 100 naira no. But data han low where yagbinokuo, he will give you 10 billion. He will never dash you 100 naira. He does not do that. But data or lower, he doesn't mind giving you 10 billion. And that is, it's in his mind of mind. That is why he said he's battle tested. Is battle tested. That means he's someone that wants to fight and he doesn't anticipate ever losing. So the whatever battle you think is having with the royal house, Godwin will do everything humanly possible. He will go to planet Uranus to prove a point that he can fight the royal house and win. Well, I understand that Igbinana is just the beginning. He's never going to rest. Uwu, I'm giving you a background of the person that we are dealing with. All right. So we are on for a very long ride. I can assure you. That is why he will buy any person. He will buy every person to join him in this fight. So it may introduction now just to make you understand that the kind of a person that we're inherently dealing with. Coming to the question, starting from 1897, what was the role of Ago? Quite all right. Like in my last video, I've already established how Ago grew up and how Ago came to limelight through the benevolence of his bosom friend, Obavorame Nongbaisi. And that was after Ovorame had become the Oba in the year 1888. So in the year 1889, a year later, Onama Obaseki. Like I said, Obaseki is not their name. Their surname, Ogbede Oyo, or their surname. That's their surname. Because Ogbede Oyo, or Biago. I think Ago is the 11th son of Ogbede Oyo. Ogbede Oyo had quite a lot of our Bayuwana, our Bomo, that is the Ewobamie, quite prominent children. Almost all the children of Ogbede Oyo are all quite very prominent in the atlas of the history. All right. These are very distinguished family. Of all the children of Ogbede Oyo, all of them are all distinguished, but the most distinguished out of all of them is Ago. All right. That's because of the role he played during the invasion. So there are no historical account that says that Ago was already frolicking with the British. So whatever videos or Nollywood movies or talk are speculative history. Ago at no time had ever had relationship. The trading Ekinowa Ado was on behalf of the palace, and Ekini was done with the white men. Sometimes were done with the Shekiris, some were done with the Jaws, some were even done as far as the water side, he had that feeling. But this relationship was not a relationship of siding with the British for the invasion in 1897. So Ago, Norio Baseki, had no hand in the British invasion. So I put history in right perspective. Because I want to talk about history, Idobama Oge, no, had no hand with the British invasion. All right, had no hand in that. But after the Benins has been invaded, destroyed, and taken over by the British, unfortunately, around the month of February in 1897. A lot of people do not understand this. Agbonorio Obaseki was one of the few emissaries, not lele Ovorame Arierua. So Agbo Obaseki has stayed with Ovorame for close to 6 months. Verua ni Ovorame do ya gie egodun oido ya giago. Agbonorio Obaseki we no diedu no do even do year because he has always been his best friend. So that was where the problem started. He now met with the British, and when he met with the British, he distinguished himself amongst the very few chiefs because almost all the prominent chiefs at that time had all fled the metropolitan Benin, and they have all scattered into the rural or the suburb part of the then Benin kingdom. So he was part of the very first few chiefs that came back. Now he became a usable tool by the British to do an indirect rule to govern the Edo people. So he was the first. So, but from there he started to frolic with the British, and from there he started to have good relationship with them. And from the good relationship, he now begin to tell the British, and from there, he started. The British started to promise him that he could take charge of the throne. He could be, because the British eventually realized that they will not be able to govern the Benin people except there is a local representative. So the British started setting up native administration. So instead of native administration, started to create district officers. Those district officers, prominent chiefs to be head of these district officers, while Obaseki was now in total control of all the district officers in the old Benin province. So from there, the British started to see that Agbo is a usable tool that they can use to usurp the throne. Because again, Agbo Basimi also tried to be Agbo Basimi also tried to be part of the native officials that the British set up. But at that time, it was already late. Agbo has had very strong fight with the British, and now he has become a usable tool in the hands of the British to usurp the throne. So that is when he started to portray traits and traces of betrayal to ensure that there he started to find a ways to thwart the legitimacy of Agbo Basimi. On several occasions, he challenged the Crown Prince. He made him to realize how powerful he has become and what he can do to ensure that Crown Prince Agbo Basimi does not inherit the throne of his ancestor. So the situation became critical. The situation became bad that Crown Prince Agbo Basimi started to write letters to plead with the then King of England, which was King George V. That this is their powerful chiefs. He was referring to Agbo in the letter. Their powerful chiefs that is trying to take his birthright from him. So that was because of King George. He didn't write only to King George. He also wrote letter to Oni of Ife and Emma of Kanu and some other powerful traditional rulers at that time, so that they can help him appeal to Agbonorio Obaseki that Nyoba Soegbe and all of that. So it was during that time the then district head of the then old Benin province, which was called James Watt, was Anaido Tiema,
Hold on, sir.
a committee was set up.
Hold on. When you say
All right.
Jinswat, you mean the Jinswat street known to the Edo people? Is
Yes,
that
the
the
James
name
Watt.
the name you are referring to?
Yes. Yes,
Continue.
James Watt. You know. So James Watt in Kenana Ditaya Apapava. James Watt in it was the provincial head. You know what about Otedo at that time in British area, you know what about Otedo. He was in charge at that time. Now he had it was part of the negotiation plan between him and Agonorio Baseki that he will make him the Oba of Benin. So they already had a standing agreement. But the only thing they needed was a local support. That local support, they really didn't get it. Because in one of the meetings that they had, in a meeting, Agobasimi, Crown Prince Agobasimi, Agonorio Baseki, Ezomo, Ehu, Eson, and James Watt. That was the meeting that eventually decided the fate of Agonorio Baseki. That is when, at that time, he had already traveled to go and see an Ishekiri, a Warri provincial head, with an Ishekiri man called Doho Numa. Shekiri Wano was the then Warri provincial head. Ivana Boye, he had already went to meet him and bribed the man with about 200 pounds sterling. No, ya bribe that Ezona had a set a committee up in there, and the James Watt had already contacted the Warri district officer, which was Dohonuma, that since it's more of like a local person who had grew up within this terrain, he should understand the administrative system of the Edo people. So no do guayo or manoheke via where your Edo. So ona ya mion ona bribe on ona noni. With the hope that onigagire odo onido tabe our Baseki is qualified. Is qualified to become the Oba of Benin. So oni kere enado do a meeting. The meeting Ezomo no waro vegani supported Awu Norioba. All right. I spoke about how Ezomo also betrayed the Benins, also betrayed the throne. Ezomo supported Awu, but Eson and Eho, the Ejon Eho and Chief Eson no waro vegani stood their ground and said that Ubioba or Rioba. All right. Eventually, that is when it now dawned on James Watt that there is nothing on earth that they can do if they need a local, an indigenous sort of agreement that there is no way that our Obaseki was going to meander his way through and get to the throne, except if the British would want to force their will on the people. At that time, the British had mastered the concept of indirect rule. The British doesn't want to force themselves on the Edo people, using one of us to rule, while they are the voice behind the background, but using one of us to rule. Eventually, the entire committee, the resolution that was made was not in favor of Agobasimi. After Agobasimi, Crown Prince Agobasimi Bolone, he traveled far and wide, appealing to different powerful people that makes up of at the time the northern and the southern protectorate, going through all of this to beg them that you're heke Norioba. But eventually, another mapa. But Ahagi Maobani, the British, in order, haven't failed to put Ago there as the Oba of Benin. Haven't failed in the skirmishes to make Ago the Oba of Benin. Had not asked Ago what other title is close to the Oba of Benin that they can give him that will be as powerful or as powerful as the Oba of Benin. So he now said Iyase. All right. Then the British now said, okay, we are going to give you the Iyase. So the day, I think 12th of April, 1914, I think 12th of April, but it was in the month of April, 1914. Edename Crown Prince Agobasemi as a Daiken. Edenawa Ma eventually was initiated as an Daiken. That was the same day that the British crown. That was the same day that the British even Awonorio Baseki Iyase. So now the question is, am Iyase Vedo Oba or Iyase Vedo? Now the Oba Iyase Vedo agi me awo Norio Baseki Iyase wadege. I'm always quite very picky with my words. Imawe Awo Baseki. I don't call him like that. I call him Awo Norio Baseki because Awo Baseki, the name does not belong to them. It's a title. Egi nobaya winya seno. Noya we benye seno. Awo Norio Baseki. So, like I was saying, Oba or Miyase. Oba or Mwiginoma. But Egi Yase na goe the British or Moene. There's never any time in any historical records where Oba of Benin gave, in the first place, he had already become Iyase by the British definition before Agobasimi Kedi Oba. So there's no way Agobasimi could have given the Iyase title to Awu. So I might need to understand whether that one is whether that is very clear. So
Very clear.
by that
Very
definition,
clear.
I have said it.
Before
I have
you
said
continue,
it.
Mudiane,
I have
before you
said it
continue,
before now that by that same divination or by that same knowledge, Awo should never at any time of history be regarded as an Iyase. Should at any time of history be regarded as an Iyase. I have given you the reason why Awo should never be called an Iyase.
Nomination based on the British nomination or crowning him Iyase, because that is a taboo.
Yes.
Okay.
That's a taboo. Egwa. They have not been able to prove the 2 years any Obama Munia. Obarok Pamamu Yasenia. The 2 years any That's why I said I have brought facts. The day, I think 12th of April, 1914, Edename Agobasimi Daiken, Ederio Ami Yase. So go pan on my Yase and Oba or Miyase, Oba or Ziyase. Orian. So you cannot tell me by counting it back. Let me count it back so that I will know the position near claim. Boy, their position of the Iyase. The current Iyase is the 18th. After Iyase 18th, the 17th Iyase was West Idahosa, Chief West Idahosa. That was the 17th. The 16th was Igodao, Chief Osaogiwa, something Igodao, who was a retired judge. That was the 16th. Then the 15th Iyase was Omo Saigi. So inherently, after the 15th, the next Iyase 14th, Onyo Gaius. Then, if Gaius is 14th, after Gaius, the next Vakari Yeke or Okorotun, because Okorotun was in between Awo and Gaius. So the next, Gaius was 14, Okorotun would have been 13th. So that means Awo was 12th. The 12th and the 14th Iyases of Benin are illegal. And as such, should never at any time in public intellectual discourse should they be ascribed as being an Iyase. Should they be ascribed as being an Iyase? Because they are illegal.
Can you touch on?
I have been able to establish that.
Can you touch on the 14th? The illegality of the 14th.
On a Gaius,
Yes. Can you touch on that?
It's still almost about the same thing, but this time around, it was not the British that made Gaius. It was it was between the issue was between Gaius Obaseki, which is the son. I think it was the eighth son. It was the eighth son of, or the eighth child of Ago, which was Gaius. It was the eighth child. And John, the eighth, was between the fracas that happened, because after Ago was in Ago Obaewekai. Then after Ago Wune, sometime in September 1920, I think September 9, 1920, that's when Ago died. Then he had a bosom friend, though he was older than Obaeweka, but he had a bosom friend. His family had fought in the Benin Ekiti Wars. He later to be known as Iyase Okorotun. Why he was called Iyase Okorotun? Because his father, one of his ancestors, his grandfather, his great-grandfather, were the ones who fought between the Benin and the Ekiti Wars. He found that when the old empire, between the boundary between the old Oyo Empire and Benin Empire was at a place with present-day Ekiti Nate Otun. All right? But because the Yoruba people, the Ekiti people at that time, the Ekiti people of Otun, had knew that he's a prince in his own right from Benin. And Oko at a prince here, so another at Oko Otun. But Eniedoge or Wegbegbe Mehari Yere is a very strong Benin name. So, but it was later to be known as Iyase Okotun. Now, Okotun was probably one of the best friends of Obaeweka. He was Obihawano, an Ifa priest. So, of Yowafi Haneweka, and he assured the worker by all the divination now, Eseyanoze Weka, Ogarioba, Omorokbaro Wagmona, no Mioba. So at that time, because they were very close, Obaeweka had promised him that Nyegarioba, he will make him an Iyase. He will make him an Iyase. But Obaeweka Irioba in 1914, don't forget, the British now forced Awo Obaseki on him. All right, now forced Awo Obaseki on him in that same 1914. So when that Awo now died, Wogiri Obane in that 1914, because he could not make his bosom friend Okorotun the Iyase, because the British has given the Iyase title to Ago. He now gave him a title of Esama. He was now the Esama of Benin at that time. So the Ago Obaseki, Nori Obaseki Yibune, 1921, few months later, Eweka na fulfilled his promise to his bosom friend by now making him the Iyase. Now, Botoridi Orue in 1933, the Akenswa Iduriobane, the Iyase Okorotun was always having problem with Akenswa on some personal matters. So, Okorotun sometime in either 1948 or 1949. Okorotun wu Yawu Akenswa now. He wanted to now abolish the Iyase title. He wanted to abolish the Iyase title. I think I've said this story before. He wanted to abolish the Iyase title. Edo Nami no abolish the Iyase title, because the Iyase originally is to protect the interest of Edo people. So Edo Nami then instead, Akenswa said that he had created a title to replace the Iyase. So Akenswa said that the title Niaya replace Iyase is Oba Denyado. Oba Denyado. That was the title that they said was cool. So Gaius were the one who led the people against the palace. That if you look at this story, I want to tell you, also played that few days ago. When Oba said Oba Denyado, Gaius on a ere Godwin Ohwa. Now led the Edo people to say that Obama Denyado Edo or Denyaba. They might need to understand this story.
Very well.
So,
Very well.
Obama Denya do Edo Denya ba. Don't also forget, few days ago, Pedro came out that Egioba talk by Edo Yaga talk by. This is almost the same story playing out by the same children of Gaius, Dito, Awo. You might as well understand. This is almost the same story playing apart. What has transpired about sometimes in about the early 50s or the late 40s is almost the same now. I think sometime in 1949 or thereabout. It's playing out almost the same. That Gaius leading, not the Edo people, now leading the elites. You know, I've always had problem with elite. The Benin elite. The Benin elite, I've always had problem with them. I always have problem with them. Because if you do is so when the next place that they want to show their power is always the palace. So I'm always very careful. Honestly, because they always have that that kind of demonic and devilish mentality. Are you okay? So they always have that demonic and devilish mentality. So at the end of the day, we're protesting that Edo de Yamba within the group. Okay, within the group, ni teme nani, yana okay, we no yena mahagi to be mazi yase. Mahagi to be they were called the Benin Taxpayer something association, Benin Division Taxpayer Association. They were taxpayers association. One, that was the name of their group at that time. I think BDP or so. Within Gaius Obaseki was the secretary. So within them, they now nominated Gaius as Iyase. So Gaius was also, don't forget, his own father was chosen by the British. Now his own son was nominated by the elite. I was when we have a media doing boom, not over years school supported Godwin. You might need to understand. Don't forget, we Godwin that by a governor. I will Senator Zame again. Godwin, a governor. Senators, I want to quickly say this. Senator Zame did not say anything. He did not say anything. Godwin hit by power in there. Senator Zame started saying, Benin should unite. Since Godwin had been misbehaving for the past 2 weeks, Senator Zame already do know. You see why I don't take? Yes, you see why I don't take them serious. Senator Zamena is no longer talking. He's no longer telling Godwin to shut up his mouth. That anyhow. It's not Godwin even misbehaving for ne. Or with the baby ladian. Uzame or let's unite. You see how demonic some of these Benin so-called elders are. On your say area me and coca in make bayan. I always criticize all of them. All of them. All of them, because I know their intent. Fear. No single Benin elder, stakeholders, Nitigmia elites has called Godwin to order now. None. None. Or misbehaving for let's unite. Unite for what? Political party of Backbone ADC, Benin's come and unite. Unite for who again? That we should be subordinate to them. But when we are talking about when there are national matters like this, like the statement Godwin has made a few days ago, they are not going to say anything. None of them. Senator Zame Awurogide Okpa Mekinya Yaba. None of them are going to say anything until Oyari again I vote again. Benin people should unite. Yeah, might what is currently going on now. So it was that's why I said the 12th and the 14th years of Benin came out through the instrumentalities of oppression. They came out through oppressive tendencies and not through the right traditional channel of becoming Inyase. And as so, therefore, they are not qualified by all commensurate traditional measurement of qualifying who becomes an Iyase. They do not qualify. So I stand by every single knowledge I have about Benin history, that the 12th and the 14th Iyases of Benin are not truly, in right sense, an Iyase. So Ago should not be regarded as an Iyase. Gaius should not be regarded as an Iyase because of the point. Anybody can choose to debate me on that.
Okay. I would also like you to elaborate more, touch more on now, after the deportation of Oba Oborame in Calabar, Ago Obaseki, Nori Obaseki, British appointed on Obaseki, was in charge. Now, remove the palace aside, now the royal house. What was Ago dealings? How was this so hard-handed towards the Benin people in collaboration with the British? I mean, his conduct, he was the de facto ruler, answerable to the British people. So he was all about.
Yes.
So
there are so many records.
Yes, so
ranging from
this is
there
what I
were
wanted
so
to
many
touch on.
records against Ago concerning how even the British eventually at one point in time agreed that he was stubborn and arrogant, that he was a bad administrator. Now, for example, you know, from his childhood experience, like I said, reading from Igbafe, at the age of 25, Onaya Lovieke Ohonoro Wodo. At the age of 25, only even know whoever wrote out his elder brother, no Ogbomo, which are the Egobamians. Why do we know or your Basekine is now more of like the district head, the native district head of Benin City. What he was fond of doing was our vien ya no hiredu aendo ya agbungbo ya vigo no na miewugbo vioyekbo. And secondly, Awezoya no dohame wa agui. It was always fun because these were the petitions that some of the Benin nobles had written to the British, to even the Governor General at that time. These were some of the petitions that Awe Ezoge Odohame na record. On our record under our Obaseki, you must ensure that Ezoni that the marriage ni a break so that you make an Ohoni Lawa. So he was fond of marrying a wife's divorcee, in which he was a judge in their own case. So Okbe, like I said, Okbe, at a very young age, even as a sitting chief and a prominent person, he was in charge of the court cases against marital affair. So like in a way that Ohoni is your odoai, once Ohoni has your doai, or do you Ohoni, or if you were. The chiefs petitioned it. And that petition, there is a letter of that petitioning that Igbafe wrote about. And the chiefs also were able to say his fourth wife, his sixth wife, his seventh wife, his ninth wife. So in his rulings, he was a very arrogant fellow. He was power-drunken and very arrogant. He didn't treat Benin people right. The episode of 1906, in 1906, Crown Agobasimi now having been transversing the entire length and breadth of the remnant of the old Benin, from villages to villages, and some with the was able to convince them that with the knowledge that they now have about the British, they can be able to fight the British and be able to restore the Benin monarchy, the kingdom, by defeating the British, going to Calabar, and bringing back Obavorame. That was in 1906, 8 years before Otokeri Orue. So that was in 1906. So he had gathered all the machineries. Have a taxi, ya natia pay no ne awo norio baseki. Ya may pay. Ya na gather egoni to get machineries, to get weapons, to face the British. So this story has never even been told. That at one point, it's after we lost the war in 1897, the Benin's did wanted to recoup, wanted to come back, were gathering themselves to take back their kingdom from the British. But what was the mistake that Agobasimi made? Agobasimi consulted Ago. When he consulted Ago now saw that if he had not been and retrieve back the kingdom, a position near Yazagadabu nebomu but yehayare positioning. So instead, on I have boni my ebo. That was in 1906. On I have boni my ebo. So because of that, a lot of chiefs and a lot of villages were ransacked again by the British, and if not by the mercies of God and our ancestors, Crown Prince Agobasimi was almost arrested. It took some prominent chiefs to be able to plead that but have weapons in our bag. So that was his saving grace, because our Obaseki would have also betrayed. That would have been the 5th or the 6th time he's betraying Benin Kingdom. So if anybody is saying that during these old exercises that our Obaseki was not, he was not more or less the eye of the British government in Edo land. He was more or less taking in charge of everything, and he was a very bad administrator to the Benin people by even betraying. There was even a case where Ezo Nagui Nagobasimi Gui Siloko district, which was a district not under him directly, because he was in charge of Benin City district. We had Siloko district, we have the district, or the Banket district, and there were several districts. All right. Ezon Ogui, he called Agobasimi and told him that who gave him the rights that Omaido Tamiye ona Yarizeve Ezo no Otedu, that who gave him that power that he should come and publicly apologize to him. And don't also forget that on several occasions, even when Agobasimi has become the Oba, the Agonori Obaseki had to make a sitting Oba. I talked about it. Had to make a sitting Oba publicly apologize to him.
That was Eweka the second apologizing.
That was Eweka the second. Yes. After that was what led to Eweka the second giving Agonori Obaseki his first daughter. Bogi apologized. He said, "I will not want him say." Those ones that they are saying that if the royal house didn't, if Eweka didn't like our Obaseki, why did he marry his daughter, his first daughter, to him? No, it was out of frustration, because he was threatened that I told him verbatim that would die. In other words, he told him that Omayegbe would be dethroned. So the British now forced the now Obaiweka is now Oriobane. The British now forced him. That would have been in the year 1918. That was in the year, not that would have been, that is the year 1918. The British now forced him to publicly apologize to Agonori Obaseki, and I will now want to say anado ya wizoe, because anado ya wizoe ne no lao ne get dethroning. So it was a terrible situations. It was a terrible situations. That is what, when you remember the situation, only they still have that bragging right that they have brought the palace to the knees. Now, the question I've always asked rhetorically, the question I've always asked, I want to ask that question again. Since we have lost our sovereignty, 4 Obas are ruling. 3 Obas have reigned. The 4th one is currently on the throne. Eweka the 2nd, Akezwan the 2nd, Obaere Diawa, and Obaewa. Why is it that these 4 Obas only had one problem or the other with one family member? Eweka had problem with the Obaseki family. Akezwan had problem with the Obaseki family. Obaere Diawa had problem with the Obaseki family, only that he was able, because Obaere Diawa is very gentle, he was able to manage it, that he didn't snowball into a big crisis. But arguably, he had mild problem with the same Obaseki family. And now Obaewa is there, is still having the same problem with the Obaseki family. If you are not saying that Obaewa is the bad one, what Obaere Diawa, was he also a bad Oba that he had problem with the Obaseki family? Was Akenzo also a bad Oba that he had problem with the Obaseki family? Was Eweka also a bad Oba that he had problem with the Obaseki family? So people can deduce from this my rhetorical question that everybody is trying to turn a blind spot to one fact: the Obaseki family is not good for the Edo people.
OSA, my second question for you to answer, because you said also in your report, I know you was responding to Nogehiase Irimeyata Obaseki. You was responding to him. He said his great-grandfather and the Obaseki at large have always protected and worked towards the progress of the royal house, the Benin Kingdom, and protected the throne. Kabola will expatiate on that, because
no, there's not even, for even the conversation I've had, there is not even anything for me to expatiate, because I have made it very bare that right from 1897 till our Obaseki died in 1920, there's never a time, there's no singular action that Ago was ever recorded in history that he was trying to protect the throne. Instead, he was trying, I have proved with evidences and fact, that he was trying to grapple the throne for himself. So when you are trying to take the throne from the lineage that owns the throne to yourself, that couldn't have been you protecting the throne. At no point in time in history, I challenge them anytime, any day for a public debate. There is no time ever recorded on any Benin history that Ago fought to protect the throne. No time. So Godwin coming out and saying that Ago was trying to protect the throne, at what time? At what historical period? At what historical, how do I put it? At what historical time or period in all of this timeline that I have drawn, ranging from 1897 to 1920 before he died, did he try to protect the throne? There was never a time. All he was only interested in, he was interested in power. He was a power monger. He was interested in power. He was interested in throne. He was interested in control. It's the same trait that Godwin has: power, throne, control. It has always been about their end game. It's the same trait.
Okay, you said earlier, you said Obaseki cannot, he's a very greedy man, but he can give $1 billion out if he wants to use somebody to fight the 30 costs. Okay.
Yes.
The last time we all saw how he managed the greedy Enigi anyway, because those were, a lot of them were also greedy. They have their fault. Our Abomade, and Woboma, I decided. So, and ever since Obaseki made that comment, and you replied, you made a video which really hit them. They changed the ball again because they are very, very good in trying to change the system. They changed the ball, trying to start talking about allocation enigi, and you also touch it. So please, for our audience, if you hear the because only they would like changing the system, and we know anything here we have answers to be given to them. So let us leave them to be changing the game. We'll be debunking it. So also debunk that, sir, concerning that enigi. We may have a allocation where Erima or we go in or shares already because boys say so talk on that.
The truth is this. We have to look at a big Godwin and Afeko we are able to extrapolate. We begin to filter out questions. There are questions that they will need to answer. Then themselves, Godwin and his followers, they will need to answer. That will give us a clearer picture for us to also answer them. In my last broadcast, I had explained the Nigers are Oba of Benin employee. Oba of Benin has the power to sack, fire, sack, or suspend them at his will if they go against the tradition of the land. The SSs, the commissioners under Godwin Obaseki, he also has the power to hire, fire, and sack. A very good example is, you all were aware, I had a couple of friends, where I play politics, not the SSA, not BSA. When you are a guy, or they complained that some of them have since received the
Salary.
the letter, appointment letter. Some of them have since received for over a year that Obaseki did not pay them salary. Who held Obaseki accountable for not paying his appointee salary? Who? Nobody. So why should Obaseki also now hold His Royal Majesty accountable for not paying salary to his own appointee, knowing fully well that the money in question does not belong to state government? Let them answer that even Agwankani, a state government only. A state government only. So you cannot tell His Majesty how to spend his money, when also, like, we cannot tell you as a city governor on how you spent Edo State money. How you spent Edo State money. So let us be realistic. If Godwin should come out, he should come out to tell us that Igo Yani from federal government, including the IGRU that he generated for the past 8 years that he was the governor, how he spent every single penny. The Royal House will also come out to explain to Godwin how they spent the money that was given to them through the federal government and the local government. Because the federal government has an allocation set aside for traditional rulers, most especially when I have first class traditional rulers, the federal government. Then 1% of local government is statutory right. It goes, 1% from each local government goes to the traditional ruler. In this case, Oba Benin controls 7 local governments, 1% monthly that comes from this local government goes to the Oba Benin. So the 2 types of money that comes to Benin Traditional Council, one is from the federal government, but the federal government pays through the state government. It pays through the state government. So the money comes and the local government also bring their own 1%. That's how this money goes to the tradition. Now, don't also forget, even a constitutionally recognized seat, when I have House of Assembly, I think it was about 14 of them. Obaseki did not pay them salary for all throughout the time he was a governor. He didn't pay them salary. This is people who constitutionally, that Obaseki does not have a constitutional power to sack. They are not his appointees. Even those that were not his appointees, Obaseki still did not pay them salary. Nobody questioned him on why he didn't pay those who are constitutionally elected to represent their constituency. Obaseki did not pay those people salary. Obaseki did not pay a lot of people salaries, most especially, I gave a very good example, like his SS and SSS. So he also do not have any moral rectitude for him to not punctuate that the Oba of Benin will give account of the money that gets to him when the Enigi are not Obaseki's employee. They are not state government employee. They are Oba of Benin employee. Do you understand? That's my argument. Not that I do not, I have a first-class knowledge on the reason, I have a first-class knowledge on the reason why these salaries were not paid to the Enigi. But before we even start to talk about the reason why the salaries were not paid, but Obaseki, first of all, should account why he didn't pay salary to some of his appointees. That is when we will now come out to also say why Omonoba did not pay salary to his appointees. Because in this case, they are both their respective institutional appointees. So you only say, Wadomo.
Okay. Okay. Now let me ask you a personal question towards how, because before you started first of all by describing the nature of Obaseki, so that people listening to you can be able to have a clear view of the kind of person you are trying to describe or talk about. Now, how was it possible for Obaseki able to use these flimsy excuses to instigate the Enigi to go to that kind of level by trying to drag the royal house up to the extent of going to court? Your personal view. How do you see?
Well, first, it's a Benin problem. It's a Benin problem. The greed that is locked in a man's heart. The greed that is locked in a man's heart. What he's just doing, he exploited their greed. Where did their greed come from? At that time, I said that. What was the argument that this Enige presented? They said that Iwu no heke nawari eniya. Don't forget, I don't think there was, at that time, I don't think there was any Enogi in Edoland paid more than 100,000. So that means the source of their existence, the source of their livelihood was not based on the salary that they were getting. In short, originally they were not getting salary. See, get this. Let us begin to look deep. Have you ever heard Iyase cried out that Oba did not pay him salary? Oh. Did you hear that Uwangwe, Esogma, Eson, Usuma, Ese, Ineni Biwe and the rest, these top-ranking title chiefs, Yasegbe, Esama and all of that, did you hear them come out to say they are not being paid salary? No. Don't forget, just like their Ohaimoba, they are chiefs of the Oba of Benin, so also the Enigi. The Enigi are also chiefs of the Oba of Benin. That is what the law states. So now, why were they specifically paid salary? It was not that the state government, the salary in question that they are crying over is not a constitutionally mandate. Do you understand? It is not constitutionally enabled. That is why they are not paid directly, because they don't own that money. The money goes to BTC.
Meaning they are only enjoying a privilege from the
They
Oba.
were, it's a privilege that the Oba Benin gave to them, by already our gift to them, or by already our blessed memory. You only give it that, okay, enige wahim, na ariemi kere nuwa.
No, hold on, Oteme. Meaning this so money issue we are talking about, or entitlement, or salary, or packages, started by our father or by
Obaredawa. Yes,
started the
Obaredawa
kingdom of
wanted
Sarah.
them to have a piece of stipends. All right.
Okay.
But in the old, during the times of Akenzo, and some few chiefs were being paid, most notably the Iyase. The Iyase was paid during Oba Akenzo time. All right. But that was because the Iyase was Oba's. I told you why Iyase was quite different, because the position that the Iyase holds in the kingdom gives him, it is not even constitutionally backed. It was the colonial government at that time, because of the lot of that, had created a sort of a leverage for the Iyase at that time to receive salary. Yes. You understand? But it is not constitutionally bounded. Oba is not constitutionally, these Enigi are not constitutionally bounded to the Omonoba for Omonoba to pay them salary. It was a free will for the Oba to pay these people. You understand? Sometimes they go by radio, sometimes he pays, sometimes he doesn't pay. It is not it wasn't a constant factor, because they are not traditional rulers. They are tradition. I've explained all of these several million times. So if they are crying, it can only be out of the benevolence of the royal, of His Majesty, for them to get these stipends. Now look at it, why it was deceptive. It was deceptive in the sense that even the people who were pushing, the people who pushed for I give paying your salary, I give paying your salary, I give paying your salaries, are people who are who are very wealthy. Who were the two people who pushed for these rebellious Enigi? Professor Gregory Akenzwa, a professor of medicine. At one time, he was a pro-chancellor of University of Benin, Abi Ambrose Ali University. So he can't be a poor man. That 100,000 or so not paying a month is the reason why he's going to lead that rebellion. That was not the reason. If they are telling you that's the reason, that was not the reason. I can tell you the reason why they led the rebellion. Adomuigo Kodao, so that to bridle emotion. You know, Benins are naturally very emotional on matters. Issues of money was what they use as a rallying point to bridle emotions of support for themselves. The salary wasn't, because if you said it was about the money, how come it is not the poor Nigi? I mean, Nigi in the rural area, Nigi some sort of like that. Let me put it that way, but that is not even factual. But let's put it that way, that ni Nobowa Mobo was would have been rural, but not when Professor Gregory Akenzwaye, who is a very wealthy man. Then a buy, a no of a buy, who can sell one single property in a Bansi local 100 million, 150 million. Go and look at his gigantic mansion in a buy. Go and look at that time the so many vehicles he was riding. So that couldn't have been fighting for 100,000, 150,000, except Emiowe wa Aroto Toye. And who was Emiowe no wa Aroto Toye Godwin? So the whole thing episodes, because Godwin has studied quite a lot of Benin people, quite a lot of Benin people, they can't think out of the box. I used to think it's Suniredo, but I now realize that some worst set of Benin people in diaspora. You
are correct.
School, school, primary, so it's 7 primary 5 results. Then affect that and that's the problem. That's the problem we are now. So you understand the vulnerability of the Edo people, most especially the diaspora ones. So he took advantage of their ability not to think beyond the box. All right. And now that is what led to all of this fracas. It wasn't about the money. But they are making us feel it's about the money, because that's what's going to play on our emotion. Hey, Igo na teri ene ya o, magiri ene ya o, 1 year. Igo ni, Godwin wa paying ya. What did they do with that money? How has these people who protested? The question is Royal Majesty had asked at that time. So I can give you a very good example. Let me not mention his name. There is an enoge around Sapler Road down almost at the Ahangi Light Delta. There's an enoge. It was collecting close to 2 to 3 billion annually.
Naira.
Naira, yeah, billion. Into billions annually. Because there's quite a lot of oil companies in his dukedom.
And is it part of the suspended Enige?
He was sitting on the fence. Yeah, he's suspended. Yes. But he didn't come out openly to support Godwin, but he was sitting on the fence. In that matter, you don't sit on the fence. It's either you are for Godwin or you are against, or you are for the palace. I sit here fence if it be matter. And that's what I told them at that time. You can't sit on the fence. It's either you are for Godwin or you are for the palace. There's nothing like being neutral on this matter. It's either you are for one or you are against. I want to play safe. So only or Malaysia or Dubai or 6 months. Then how does that money given? Usweni we ladiama paying a salary. A salary again amase 200,000 every month. So would you think that one was actually fighting for salary?
No,
he wasn't fighting for salary. They were fighting for control. They wanted to be in charge, and they didn't want to be under the Oba of Benin. The question at that time, if you don't want to be under the Oba of Benin is going to withdraw your power from you. You can go and get your power from government house. So what we have asked them, they don't even need to be begging on Monoba. Let them go to Sadebe Avenue and get their power. So that's what the issue. They were fighting for control. They wanted to be in charge. And again, there is no even, they makes the Benin people feel that there are not even checks and balances to these people. Oba egenede egawa kenzo egawa we weka abe nige ukpukpo ya yimo agegwa ayimo agegwa wemi ya nu emi okọ ya mi you must go and say ukpo na wa my ma wevo yeni maya yimo a abe enige na ya yimo agegwa. The palace will not hold them accountable for the hundreds of millions and billions that they make annually. None of them is held accountable, yet they cannot provide basic amenities for their people. In short, I know of an Enogi, is late now, who told me that he has not visited for up to 15 years. Omayo, 15 years, Omayo, but Ahyoto, Amugoni, Amugie, Wowa. These are the same set of Enigi that are now coming out and saying that I'm not paying a salary. When one land, or say even Godwin are paying in the next 5 to 10 years. In the next 5 to 10 years. So, and like I said, it was because of greed. And this is where the greed has taken them to. So if you are talking about am I paying I go blah 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 blah, that's bullshit. That has nothing to do with it. If it was because am I paying I go, it would have been those who are actually not living fine that were supposed to lead the protest. But this time around, it was people who are very wealthy, the wealthy Enige that is leading the protest. So you begin to fault the rationality behind the protest. Lead the protest against PDP. Lead the protest against Okpewolo, now is an APC. Then when he wrote that way, is PDP members. Won't you question the rationality behind that protest? That this is a political protest. That was exactly what we questioned. If people are to lead this protest, it should be the guys in the rural, not you guys who make so much money monthly. But before then, Obaseki was not willing to even receive this Enige in his Osadebe Avenue. But because he wanted to use them to do a bad job, he started to pay them 2-3 million. Obaseki or pay 2-3 million. Emiowe. But or how you work bina Mama will pay with 30 million monthly, like I said in the beginning. So it was not very easy for him to be sending 2 million, 3 million to these people monthly because he needed them for a job and they were doing it stupidly for him. As he not abandoned them, that is why we always said, kill and divide all ye. He strives when there's disunity everywhere. That's his greatest asset. Disunity. Wow, what's it?
Where's my brother? Okay. Please, yeah, we be go and come because you want send you a message to my question. People like you to touch on. The first one is about the Naya Disone Obaseki, the present governor. I mean, ex-governor.
You know that question,
That is
when
one.
I like a question, they should go and find that from their family members. I've just said it in passing, but I have stated one fact. I don't want to go into detail when I don't like a propaganda. But I just said
Yes.
they should go and find out from their family. Deti Baoge, Akbe Yomori, Abiama Akbe Yomori. The Obaseki family knows that story. Akbe Yomori, and I was reliably told, I think about 17 years. Era Akbe Yomori.
Okay.
It's within the family.
Yeah.
They should go and find out why. I won't. I know why, but I won't tell you why.
Okay. There is another question now. It is in history that Oba Vorame was hidden in Chief Ezomon's house before the Europeans, and he said Ezomo again later betrayed. What happened?
No, it's not true. Oba Vorame was never hidden in anywhere. When that war happened,
Yes.
Oba Vorame fled with some of his children like Ewaha Okun, Oswanlele. Agobasemi fled to Uronigbe, areas of Uronigbe. Then Oba Vorame fled with about 2 or 3 of his daughters, 1 or 2 of his wives, and fled to Erua. Oba Vorame stayed in Erua for almost 9 months. Ogbe 9 months Ago Norio Baseki Ekagi to find out what is the Dwagi year. And that's when Agona started romancing the white people. So Nyeike, I think about 9-10 months or Gbevezai, about Vorame before he now came. Vogi Laido Owa no yane Ago Baseki, Norio Baseki vek Benede number 10 ek Benede Owani yon yane Owani Edu Adia Eva Yenke Aje court. Before Eyanke do Bonyen for him to be deposed to Calabar. So he never slept in Ezomon's house. The house he slept in was Ago Baseki's house, and originally one in Yanago. That house is still there. It's already number 10 at Benende Street.
Okay, then now how did Ezomo betray? What was his action?
We could account it on 2 occasions where Ezomo betrayed.
Okay.
Occasion number 1 was before the war or during the war. I've said it a couple of times. Ezomo did not, the Ezomo of that time, so Ezomo of that time did not go to war. So inherently he's talking to our Logbo Oba Isiagbon, Oba Hawaii, or Siamenogbedo. So he's not so by his position as a Ezomo, which is the generalismo, the head of the military, he was supposed to be the one leading the military against the British. He did not. So that is a betrayal.
That is a betrayal act.
That's a first betrayal act committed by Ezomo. Now, in Ikawitai, around in 1914, the meeting that Nado will with James Watt. All right. No, it was not James Watt. Owago or Baseki do a meeting. no do bowok ba one ovora memune one adwe. Emmanuel meeting was James Watt, Agonorio Baseki, Ago Basimi, a John when who have explained that they are not chief, a John Chief Eson and Chief Ezomo is also an John. So Ezomo, Eson, Eho, Ago Basimi, Ago, and James Watt. These were the 6 people on that meeting or year meeting. Of that 6 meeting, James Watt was a neutral person. Then that is Ago Basimi versus Obaseki. So it's now remaining 3. All right. Eson and Eho stood by Ago Basimi. That Ovioba Orioba. It was not only Eho, Izoduwa that stood for Crown Prince Ago Basimi. The son of that time also stood by Ago Basimi Ovioba Orioba. The Ezomo stood by Ago.
By Obaseki.
And by Ago Norio Baseki. Ezomo stood that Ago Norio Baseki or Heke Noaba. And that Ezomo eventually said something that is even very funny. Obetetana he where awo mane meba irioba ohonwa hu no aso abe botai ne ai mo bane.
Meaning he was not even prepared to even allow the lineage to continue.
The lineage of the Oba, the lineage of environment to continue. So Ezoma said that Omanasabo awo bo ohwe ebo na muno hu amuna. So he was not interested in the tradition that made him Ezomo. He was interested in his his new lovers, the British and Awo Norio Baseki. So these were the 2 things done by Ezomo of that time that is accounted as betrayal.
Okay. Again, was there any time the Benin people complained that the tax or the way Obaseki is administering the affairs on behalf of the British against the people? Did they complain? Because this is the question.
That would have been the taxation issue.
Yes.
Happened not necessarily during Ago's time. It happened during Gaius' time. That was Oba Akenzwa II. There were about 5 crises during Oba Akenzwa. One of which was the water taxation.
I made a mistake. Or we're under Gaius, or where? Yes.
It's under Gaius. It was not really under Ago. There was the taxation. Also they're writing that nonsense story here where I'm trying to say, but I don't want to miss Gaius' story with Ago. I think we should treat Gaius' story another day because it's another story that is very also as broad as Ago. Taxation was that before Akenzwa became the Oba, almost all houses were taxed. Now, with the water bond, again, the Benin City was now generating water, and a tank, what's it even?
Water board.
A reservoir, water reservoir from Ogba River. On you say because the first water reservoir not Lido was from Ezogba. On you say nana any water from tank anatia Amogba. Because the first reservoir was connected from the Ogba River anatia Awogba. Now, what really happened at that time? In other subsequent time, I will be very broad about it, was that every single families in Benin at that time were being taxed. So when Oba Akenzwa, because he was very educated, trained in King's College, he now said that you cannot tax everybody for water, knowing fully well that not everybody is going to get this water. They might need to understand. Not everybody is going to get this water. But instead of taxing everybody, I think 12 pence shillings across board, we can increase it to 30 pence shillings, but the 30 pence shillings will only be taxed on those who are getting the water. I'm a master, but why should I pay tax for what I am not benefiting? I can't be taxed for what I'm not benefiting. Then you that is benefiting will be paying 12 pence. Me that is not benefiting will also be paying 12 pence to Arioba. What then Akenzwa suggested? He now said, okay, instead of the 12 pence shillings passed across board, we can increase it to probably around 30 pence shillings. That 30 pence shillings will only be taxed on households that is benefiting from the water. Then a guy also now rebel that Oba Akenzwa use a tax yagbagmo gbemiwa. Moreover, Oba Akenzwa was only trying to protect the interests of the poor people in the society. Giving more taxation, giving more taxation to the rich people while not taxing the poor. That's what Akenzwa wanted to do, but he was crucified that he want to use taxation to kill Edo people, not knowing fully Edo people, because Edo people at that time was also very ignorant of this thing. Just like most of them, the Wawilele were meet and greet. How most of them are very ignorant and being blinded by false accusation. So they now sold a story that Oba Akenzwa is trying to rip Edo people off from their hard-earned money, not knowing that Oba Akenzwa was trying to protect the interest of the poor in the society while taxing those who are capable of being taxed and removing taxation from those who are poor, who are too poor to be taxed. So it was about 5 of that situation that happened against Akenzwa, where Yana Baoge, what Akenzwa was fighting for Yana Baoge, where he's fighting against it. It was on 5 occasions. So I'm going to talk about these 5 issues that Oba Akenzwa had with the 2 people, because the elites, when they got doing with Toge against the royal palace, were lying against the royal palace so as to get sympathy from the people. It's the same. Anything that played out during Gaius' time is the same thing that is playing out during Godwin's time. The same scenario, the same tactics, the same scenario.
Okay, the last question before we start taking a call, which is people call out to come in, they will be taking 2 minutes because a lot of people want to call. The last one.
Yes, I think this will just be the last one. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, I know. The last one is how is your view? Well, because we also what came out of Emoa. Emoa was the last physical attempt. I mean, outside the social media, the physical attempt on the ground to diminish or insult or degrade our royal house. And that Emoa, without the artifact is what attracts whatever we are discussing about Emoa. So please, just give us your view on that barbaric and that fraudulent attempt of opening Emoa on Sunday that lead to this chaos. Thank you.
Well, on the issues of Emoa, I try to avoid it because of, why I try to avoid the issues of Emoa is because there are so many. My conclusive part, I would have loved to talk about it, but that's another very long topic. But the only thing I want to tell Obaseki and his followers is that Obaiwai will never allow you, just like the way, unlike what transpired during Ewekas and Akenzwa the second time, that the Obaseki had their way. Obaiwai will never allow Godwin to have his way. That's one thing I can assure Godwin. Obaiwai will never. He knows all of these stories that I talk about. He knows what the Obaseki family has done to the royal house. That's why we never allow Godwin to have his way. Ohoe Emiya Zagabedo. Godwin will not win this war. That I can assure. I'm giving you, just in case you think you are very strong and powerful, you have money, you have stolen so much money from Edo State coffers that Gaius had his way, I will have his way, but you will not have your way. There are obvious facts. People like us, we fight with our last blood. Well, where did they worry Godwin? You will not have your way this time. So those Mowa, Benin Royal Museum, blah, 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 Godwin will not have his way with Mowa. Many a while like him, you know, dear do. You know, like him. So, like I said, I don't want to speak so much on Mowa. Mowa, like I call it, is an ideological theft. It's an ideological theft. It is not the brainchild of Obaseki. Obaseki never came up with an idea to build museum. He never had that thought. Obaiwai told him, this is an idea. This idea to build a museum has always been an idea of the royal house from the time of Papakins II. Help me handle it. The British, the Europeans only released money because of the artifact. The Europeans, the only reason they released money was because of the artifact. The Europeans did not release Zigo. Now, I release Zigo Nina, Godwin not changed the name to suit him. First to a Mowa. When he know that he was not going to win that election, he now removed a total stake of Edo State. How can an idea be conceived because of a people, and you now remove the stake of that people as later on, as time progresses? The entire Edo or Benin stake was entirely removed. And he had the guts to say that there was a royal representative, near pay, not to represent. Or do you want us to, or I mean, so the social media? We understand the role he had to play to go and deceive the crown prince. On the crown prince one more now 5 years ago. How he deceived the heir apparent, because he knows that to legitimize the Europeans having to release money, there has to be a royal signature. How can you go and meet a son and don't talk and don't discuss the matter with his father? Wherever he make money there.
Not possible.
You boycott the monarch and go and be discussing the matter of the kingdom. The owner of the kingdom, you boycotted him and go and be discussing the matter of the kingdom with his first son. Who does that? Ozuwa is trying to tell people that there was a royal representative. Sent by who? Was it the Oba Benin that sent his royal representative? Let him bring evidence that Omona Yekba say no royal representative. So why winning one?
No. Where's it? So Olakoko, I'll take a call now. Please, our callers, I know you people are listening. Because of time, just please your question. No time for dropping this so that not making enough way. Na guy kiri no stay with your ball. So Olakoko, time more like time.
Yeah.
Question, no question, not dropping of a statement, just question. If they don't have question, let another person ask question.
All right. So how about for comment section? If you have any question you want to ask, so feel free to call in now, because the way our comrades take bring them down to us, I believe say we all really enjoy them. I believe say there is no call. Suppose okay, there's one call here now. Hello.
Hello, I greet everybody. I greet Bibian.
Bibian, greet you. Go ahead with the question, man.
Yeah, the question again, no. Why important the family name? Because since Nepal, Latvia, or so no any man in our background. So now, honor the exposure already. So I want to ask, Baba, we talk about the Okoro, Santokoro talk. Nora Esama later become Yase, he was a friend to Obaeweka. Baba, man, need because this is the name we have been looking for in my family, was the father of my grandmother. Because one nothing, you understand? So my only my Baba need the family man Baba. Because it was
Ide, let me get my books. I think let me find it.
Why give you a weapon? The other question.
Olakoko, when you follow a question, any caller questions, loud.
Caller, I question we here no. Okay, you that is calling direct, call back now. You wait the call direct, call back now, so that we just put your question for grant as well. You wait the call direct before, call back now, so we take the next call.
What kind of call for me?
Just go ahead with your question.
Any other person can ask question while I'm looking for it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question.
Oh, I will call you back. Direct call, don't cut out. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, hello, good evening, Olakoko.
Go ahead with your question.
Yes, I just wanted to ask a question that the followers of Edoseki should ask themselves also. During the first term of Obaseki, I think he was close to the palace then because there was no issues of artifacts. Then Oba was not playing politics. So why is it now that it was after the artifact issue? Why is it that it's now Obaseki is now saying the palace is playing politics, the palace is not paying the Enike's salary? Why is it now? Why now?
Thank you.
Why did it not come up with
All right.
the governor?
Thank you.
Now, why this time?
Thank you very much. We get you clear. Thank you. Thank you for your. We'll take the next call. That is to. Hello.
what is really going
Hello, Mama La. The best one. Go ahead with your question. Call like Mami and Otasima. My direct call. Go ahead with your question.
So the way not get possible for Osima, Mr. Izoduwa, no way this program is a donor way. In a way, like the Yoruba people that one year and necessity matter and they see their value so that their people can really relate with them. So
Okay.
Okay.
Any other question or my own in number one?
Wait, I just want him if it's possible for him to use Edo language.
Edo yen lonia, yeah, ma get you.
Okay, my
Understand?
My aim in wetane, Mama, my aim in wetane. Or ye dam in weta, all in one yo. If you way your own wayeta.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I don't have any other question.
Okay, thank you. That is we'll take the next call. Callers when they call, hold on, I will take call of on a call. After they take more 2 calls, then we proceed. Hello.
Hello, Olakoko Domo. Mr. Izoduwa, thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, sir.
But from your discussion today, Pastor Izoduwa, let me ask my question.
Hey, Daniel.
How was the sea? Or what can do in an IGC battle? The apparent to the throne is an educated person, both in Nigeria and Western world. Ọ̀rẹ́ tó bá fẹ́ kí ló dí sí ìbẹ̀rẹ̀ ọba ti máa ń fọn mi rẹ̀ ẹ ń pín ẹnu ní èrè ìfọn mi rẹ̀ yẹn rẹ̀ nínú gọ́ọ̀mù lórí rẹ̀ ta.
Okay, my own answer you.
So no explain it any my man.
Okay.
question is, near an apology against Instagram page. I am with pitching a young what? You might get there, to be issue a statement here. Having him banning the local no do any is not in support. Why is it silent in that area also?
Okay. Okay.
In the comment section in Instagram. But you see what they are doing both on Facebook, TikTok, on Instagram, those no banning. Or maybe the issue is
Maga say, I need you and we give a chance to get answer the question.
you are praising me when the father is in the truth. Don't people that
Olakoko, we'll let him answer the question.
Where's a caller? Question: can we take one more call? Like what the truth that I will close the phone. Close the phone. I'm calling you back now. So you pick your call or then you wait. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Please, I want to ask, is this possible for the Oba of Benin, the title of is it possible?
Come again.
To abolish it. Is it possible for the Oba of Benin to abolish the title Obaseki?
Okay.
Because it's a title, it's not a name. It's a chieftaincy title, it's not a name.
All right.
It is possible to abolish it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, where's it? Quickly, I hope we'll not have a question here, you told, right? Okay. Thank you, caller. Okay. So up to you, coordinator. Thank you.
My brother. So you're holding swing because I see you are looking at your book or holding there or helping you ya down here or ni agwalo kere ya mi Sokoto.
Iya se okorotuni. When can we explain no say na nati okorotu 1921 by work the second in May yase like I said o se kankan ya wa ahin oti oba ana bio but we do patakin ya wa ahin so an we do ni alele the Benin's Ekitik Barakbo walls. The boundary between the old Benin Empire and Oyo Empire was at a place called Otun. Awati and Otuni agi honkoni na iwedu so na ido dia yo Otun vekiti. So, but as time progresses, some of them started returning. So he was one of them that returned. Nona a prince in his own right in every Obana ati Oko ati prince Oko then area no dia ne Otun and a nickname of another way Oko Otun. All right, but the original name is Omohwa Osunde was his original name. Omohwa Osunde. And then I'm my yase ne doge manari ni no na wa woti Yoruba ohangi zedoni owe Oba Muyase Kumi wagogo me dereya zedoni
Wagogo me ya
tita owe Oba Muyase Kumi wagogo me dereya zedoni because he had grew major part of his life was in Yoruba land, but he's a pure Benin man. So his name is Omohwa Osunde. That's here is the original name of it.
Okay. So let me just phrase you back again with the questions. Say after the last caller, last start with him. Or if it's possible for our Father, our God-given God on earth,
not possible.
By the second, to abolish the title of Obaseki.
Not possible. Not possible.
Okay. Why?
It's hereditary.
Touch on it.
It's hereditary.
Okay. That is
I
that
was the
title
first
about
person I'm wearing a title in 1921. Sorry, 1889, not 1921. Sorry, I died 1921. So 1889, I was the first person I'm wearing a title in. Like in my last video, I had said that the success of that family is on that name. So they know the spiritual implication of that name on their family. So they had heard that name, even when Papakins was trying to give that title to another family. They protested. They have always protested. A title by a Benire. So Obarediawa, like I said, when Kata that Obarediawa had problems with him, but because of wisdom, Obarediawa just found that instead of having to create more problem with the Obaseki's family, like I said, they are very problem family. He not give them as hereditary. Obarediawa do buy a Bornea. That is an hereditary title, so you cannot.
Okay. But okay. Personally, I will still ask again. Marita do where in nobody who we always said, can't our father now also enact a law where he decree
Oh, there are some laws that even the Oba of Benin can not upturn.
because
Yesu Naya protected the throne that any Oba of Benin cannot just come tomorrow. Ours want change it. Yesu no change. There are about 5 cardinal laws of the land that the Oba of Benin is compelled to obey without changing. It's just like trying to change the crown prince. The crown prince is protected by the Ewakbe promulgated act of inheritance. So the first son of the Oba is his inheritance. Oba cannot just come out tomorrow and say that Yamalake is first son, third son, or Yoba is not done. That's the law of primogeniture. Then Oba again on one againi emeba mioe uwu or mioma againi. The best Oba can do is to suspend. Is to suspend you from performing your duty as that title holder. But when it now becomes hereditary, it can be suspended for 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. But by the time any Oba wants to reinvigorate that title again, it must adulterate the last holder, the next heir apparent, the next in line to the last holder 300 years ago. If it's inheritance. So again, the best an Oba can do is to suspend you. These are laws. There are some, like I said, there are about 5 laws that, not as powerful as the Oba of Benin is, cannot change. It's one of those laws. So
okay, the other caller also make a reference concerning our heir apparent to our throne, where as an educated prince supposed to know to inquire from the father before.
That matter is as complicated as you guys sees it from the opening. Because I'm an in-house person, that's why I have a first-class knowledge about it. And sensitive matters like this are not to be shared in public, so I won't be able to speak on that matter.
Respected. Okay.
Dumb.
And another of our sister also calling, also, she said, when the Yoruba people are about to say some sensitive issue like this, they use their language. So don't you think sometimes it's also good when we want to discuss some things like we should just do it on all through Bini or where do so that
matter is mama gbeyi uvion gbeyi. But ya vini duriedo ya gwan. Ido akemeta I will not be very calculative in how I say it, on how to say it, because I'm more fluent in English. I'm more expressive in English. Etigwazedo, but it was kaita. Even you have to explain within 1 minute. But although take like 10 or 5 minutes for me to explain, because it was you need to sorte, need to zedo no magba.
Yeah,
The long word.
we are telling Marata.
It was kemeta.
Even the seki, doseki, boya, even you are not boyata. Yon
So
tie, data to habana, agbido, or luren, and the agaro we do not agbe. You understand?
so
That one particular is what even a seki,
normal.
what
Mama
tie,
egwi.
boyati. You make it
Egwi
yourself.
mama
So,
yati mini zedo, but it was kemeta mini high. Egwi. Okeke na zedo menu high.
okay. So that is the last question. And you have 2 minutes to talk. 2 minutes. That 2 minutes is just to talk to our Edo people in diaspora. And first of all, thank you again. I find out that because when I was growing up, I know there is somebody here in Australia who is also a pastor. We normally talk all the time. I normally remember him having this discussion. You know where where that barrier where no blocking my street by one day or there is somebody that is not related to you who was also in the street in a way what am I trying to say? Now in Europe now, a lot of 80% of the elders are quiet. And this give room. No. This give room to the youth to be messing up. Because a lot of these youth, some of them in their late 20s and early 30s. In my history now, so you know why to beg you know why so I will so they don't encourage all these people. This is my own view. Investigation is begging again. So what is 2 minutes just to talk to our people? How the
Well,
importance of defending their identity as an Edo people.
the only thing, in conclusion, the only thing I want to tell the Edo people is nobody in the history of Edo has been humiliated, embarrassed, disgraced like the Obas of Benin. The Obas of Benin have paid the ultimate sacrifice for this land. They have suffered, they have been persecuted. People can only just remember their glorious story. A lot of people do not remember the pain, the freedom that they have lost. Eseyana negwazenedo, nedoge yeke, and quite a whole lot more. In all of this, the palace has never stampeded any growth of any Edo man. The palace has never decided on the choices that Edo people make. The palace at no time ever came out that Edo vote in Okpewolo. At no time, even if they have their own interests, like every other Edo man will have interest. But they choose to keep it calm with prayers and propitiation to God and our ancestors. That noga fue Edo Egbe, neha yo ya gegwai, eni kawa muyewa. The palace has never blocked any Edo man from excelling. Decisions and choices taken by anybody has never been the palace that takes those decisions for us. Una we amezo, una uma like gwa, umwezo ni ari gwa. E palace iwe bu we adiowa, we salembe no moso umwezo ni ari gwa. Lot of Benin takes cases to court. It is out of your free volition that you take matters to the palace. If you also do not like the kind of judgment that comes today, you can take the matter to court. In other words, the palace has not really interfered that so much with our growth and aspiration. The palace has only guided us on the right path that we should take. So, if you think you are not progressing as an Edo man, go and hold your family responsible, hold yourself responsible, hold your biological father and your biological mother responsible. It is not the palace who has said that you should not progress. Do mana ye school or uye school, una yawe feli, umae ererewe mwebe, palace of in ererewe mwebe. Erabi juo magba oge we say, on you say ererewe mana mwebe, a boy, a brain we knock, a bailao. That cannot be the palace problem. Choices, political choices, has never been controlled by the palace. Those who will support Obaseki will continue to support Obaseki. The palace will never come and tell you no. In short, I had it in good record that most of the royal house, royal children, if you hear some of the Iridiawas and Arkansas, they all voted for Aswan. Till date, a lot of Iberuga voted for Aswan. It shows that even with His Majesty's interest, it still allow our people to make their choices as at when they want to make their choices. I fought for the palace, but I never voted for anybody. I didn't vote for Aswan. I didn't vote for Bewulu. The palace never told me I must go and vote for Okbewulu. The palace never sent me. The only thing I said at that time that I can vote for anybody I choose to, but certainly not Aswan. The reason was not far-fetched because he was Godwin Obaseki's candidate. So our growth and aspiration, our socio-economic welfare, socio-political welfare has always rested in our hands. The Obas of Benin have lost those rights since the British invasion. They no longer decide for the Edo man what an Edo man becomes. It is purely on our choice. Our choice of defending the palace is our choice. The difference between us and Obasekis is this. We defend the palace out of our free volition. We are not being coerced. We are not being paid. We are not being bought. Can Obaseki say that for himself?
Oh,
Most of his defenders, his foot soldiers, they are all under his payroll. And Oba tomorrow will not give anybody 100 naira to fight for the palace. So my conclusion is, Oba of Benin is not Benin people's problem. Benin people is Benin people's problem. Choices you make are what makes you what you want to be. And that has nothing to do with the palace of the Oba of Benin. Oba Ewaye has never at any time impounded, stampeded, or hampered the growth of all Benin sons and daughters. But the only thing he can do is to continue to pray and propitiate that Edo people, wherever they are located in the world, excel. Not also forgetting that he has his own interest, like every one of us. Like every one of us. So because he has his own interest, that does not mean he's stampeding every other person's interest. If I have interest, that does not mean I'm stampeding the interest of the palace. Everybody should have their interest and fight for their interest without having to want to bring one or the other persons down because of their respective interest. This is my message to the Edo people. Oba Benin is not our problem. We are our problem. Why I was say Oba Oswo ni no I give me Oba talk by Oswo. Oba talk by we don't know some.
He said, all right.
Wese.
Quality dinner.
So, my honorable Ivia Dome, when you must make before my case, must make it the Bama must win national anthem. I will yasin your woman. Whatever you are doing it for yourself. So you are not doing it for a master, you are not doing it for nobody. But when we lose our identity, because why wazobia ayo itaginari nima elareru weo vai eruwe wazobia nino. The only thing I yaji marionio egwa. So my way de politics where Western civilization and Ebony in London where you do. If you were raised school where God save the king, Prince Joseph Oge or Ogeletamua where except Obi Wama Leruni, Obi Waga Leruni, when in very London, they cannot God save the king and God save the queen. Wana do afi pegoima. Omami unuwa ewayari ekwe ko unwe nori ekwe nasa. Wa ijere because if you can honor and allow your children to honor an institution that came into light, even came into life after when mine and yours was thousands of years established. Only where you go, mama ni mao, nwala wo, makire wo. And at the same time also, Edo community, this is the time for us to stand. We are all Edo community. We are the custodian in diaspora, in Europe, in America. We are the custodian of our culture. This is the time for us to stand for ourselves. Do what is needful for us to stand and do for our kingdom and do that thing that we are supposed to do as one people, as a people who love themselves and not haters of themselves. So, Olakoko, the national anthem of Gimayewa, because of when I came with the finale, right?
Okay.
For 2 minutes near down.
Okay. I have digested.
I digested because if I man mawa leni and keke won wo we push me tia wa enjoy.
Oh, they your be.
Imagine cook any I worry e to we oba se ki win efin o ma le legbe match na ma wa le legbe ever no
Oma era. How you
I that's when I lele yape I did it.
And you have it by your money.
Not you. Not you go. And you're too boy to you where I have evidence. When man I will let it right that's when now. Rihanna. Papakins.
And many people still remember later if you can't do ghetto, you have to ghetto.
That's good. And I say.
Yeah, to ghetto, yeah, 30 years. 30 years.
Mama,
Oh, et Ebrato, mais il y a soirée là-dedans. Yahweh, c'est Wakme, et mon pompé.
Rihanna.
Voilà, ne voya iwon na fifuero iya jeri 30 years. Shut down wano. So wana de check the comment section wa bege leaking anihi family leak anihi wala we get note to I think on the 30th of this month eyan here do do not buy. So think iwon pardon na the fois so there oni wa gele on inu oku no unu mo no bie when friend do afigo le san na stage e no ya akoli san figo le san de ba to lagodo iya tale ya be there we no do ya figo le san we no ya sun wa bege ya be there so we need to give on the 30th of this month do you now do no buy on the 30th of this month. If you're ya fair, wa bege ya be stage. In waiting tia wa be ya. So the patina wa awaki get yoto wani warering road wa do atuno la we o hana. You short a ticket here we are all. In nobody no here tea. Uche nobody. Una need any information uti nobody event in ave pocket wika ave manama na me ya tule mulagwe ado we phone we na pa we event na So uno ho ogitami no ma eliki no reba eliki oge o family no. So wa click o wa mu we ari anything we dey gwalo bo iyareba. So video we raw no we raw ni ya we pe la dia. Iwe pe nu wa wa make na be je iwon
Old school.
Ohehe Family Music OFM presents 30 years remembrance of Toad, the Osakpama Ohen living dynasty. A music legend, Osakpama Ohen, 1960 to 1995. Program of events, December 27th, 2025. Time 9 a.m. The Osakpama Ohen family rally around and touching the lives of the less privileged. 4 p.m. Memorial Testimonial March. Venue, Ugbeko Primary School Ground, Upper Sakbamba Road, Benin City. December 30th, 2025. Memorial Concert in honor of one of Edo greatest music legend of all time, Osakbamba Ohehe and his feelings. Featuring loads of music artists, comedy, choreographic dancers, awards, undiluted hype, and many more. Venue, CO Event Center, 8 Red Cross Crescent, off Ikpokman Road, GRA, Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. Time 4 p.m. Red Carpet, 7 p.m. Main event. Get fee 10,000 naira regular. Come, let's hype and many more. Venue, CO Event Center, 8 Red Cross Crescent, off Ikpokman Road, GRA, Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. Time 4 p.m. Red Carpet, 7 p.m. Main event. Get fee 10,000 naira regular. Come, let's celebrate the life and times of a legendary Benin musician, devoted culturalist, an icon that used music as a tool for spiritual awakening and social activism, an advocate for traditional practices, fairness and tolerance to all. Osakpama Ohehe legacy lives on. Join us. Ohehe Family Music OFM presents 30 years remembrance of Toad, the Osakpama Ohen living dynasty. A music legend, Osakpama Ohen, 1960 to 1995. Program of events, December 27th, 2025. Time 9 a.m. The Osakpama Ohen family rally around and touching the lives of the less privileged. 4 p.m. Memorial Testimonial March. Venue, Ugbeko Primary School Ground, Upper Sakbamba Road, Benin City. December 30th, 2025. Memorial Concert in honor of one of Edo greatest music legend of all time, Osakpama Ohehe and his feelings. Featuring loads of music artists, comedy, choreographic dancers, awards, undiluted hype, and many more. Venue, CO Event Center, 8 Red Cross Crescent, off Ikpokman Road, GRA, Benin City, Edo State, Nigeria. Time 4 p.m. Red Carpet, 7 p.m. Main event. Get fee 10,000 naira regular. Come, let's celebrate the life and times of a legendary Benin musician, devoted culturalist, an icon that used music as a tool for spiritual awakening and social activism, an advocate for traditional practices, fairness and tolerance to all. Osakpama Ohehe legacy lives on. Join us.
How many of you now remember Ohen for year? How many of you now like Ohen music? Ahia wa swena, ile ahia ya eko ya pay. Every broadcast on the 30th of this month. No, definitely. Wa mani bunyaro wa ya riva. Iwon better na defo. Uno ko no rie. When you do ya fiego listen the stage here to fiego listen all le ba la boto. Il y a un tale ya.
Olakoko, bye-bye. Okay.
So wala no ho ogitame no ma ho wa geari wa na ya muyi yo egbe. Okay, or beg the ticket because ama no do nobody wa yes. When we here my je the address today. Call in nobody, okay? And then ya de okay, no wa off wa gbe. Call in nobody. So that way, mana mia. Oh man, so while in short, before that day, while here areba etio salobo Olakoko areba, ime here what am EVA in where one or YouTube, one we copyright in worry. If you are one we copyright in where worry. I want like YouTube, am I no here or boom baby YouTube, different names. All he made in all he in a YouTube. The man or the real one who way one of the one hour what or what I mean copyright you where who are we not do to work bear. Like I will confess now. Una good night. Waya bye bye. See you all for the next broker. Thanks for watching. I thank you for the super chat and I will say God has double make her they go also now.